Everyone has ideas of what the problems are in our society and how to fix them. We took it one step further. Our premise is simple: bring together people from different backgrounds to discuss ideas that affect us. If at the end of the show you feel informed, educated, or alarmed, we have done our job. We are the Social Disruption Network.
This seems
Next.
like a good segue to talking
Oh,
about military spending.
military spending. Okay.
So Donald Trump has proposed that what we should do is we should increase military spending by 10%.
10 or 20.
I think it's 10.
Oh Lord,
Pretty sure it's 10.
I saw something that said 20, but that's a lot
I
either
don't.
way.
Okay. Yeah, it's a
I
lot. It's
saw
a whole
20 as
lot.
well.
In either case,
Either way.
what he's proposing is that what we should do then is take funds from other parts of the government, but not including entitlement spending. So not including Social Security, Medicare, or Medicaid.
Okay.
So it just come from elsewhere. But the problem is like there's hardly even that amount of money in the rest of the government. So first off, like just mathematically, I mean, for that matter, like if the Republicans were like, oh yeah, it sounds like a great idea or whatever, they would have to take money from things that Republicans want, and not just want, but need in order to get reelected. So it seems impossible in that sense. But maybe the more important point is that first off, we have lots of other things that we need to be spending a lot more money on. There are a lot of problems in the United States already. But second, we have the world's biggest military by far. Spending 10%, a 10% increase on the military spending is like what most world powers, like major world powers, spend on their entire military. So it seems kind of ridiculous that we should need any increase at all, but certainly like that amount is kind of is just kind of crazy to me.
I just looked up a pie chart of government spending. The pie chart for military spending was about 57% of the pie.
Right.
Like literally. I'm a big advocate for the military. I love the military. However, there is no reason to have a 10% increase in military spending. I'm
But
sorry. That's
but isn't
ridiculous.
but isn't that in retort to President Obama? Didn't he do a big decrease a couple of years ago in military spending? And maybe this is Trump's way of just trying to
No.
bounce it back. If I'm not mistaken, no, there was no
Yeah,
decrease.
no, that's true. So
There,
there was the sequestration, there was the sequester,
It was a few
where
years ago.
yeah, so they froze spending,
they froze it.
and I think they reduced some military spending.
I know they
This was
did a
all
big.
part of
I know they did a big
they,
cutback on soldiers because whenever I was in the army, I know they were doing a lot of cuts. They were cutting back on soldiers, equipment, and everything. So I thought that might have been as a result of the sequestration. I think that was about
yeah.
2012. I believe it was because I got out in 2012.
So it's a couple of things. It's the sequester, but it's also because they shifted a lot of the funding to technology. So the drone program started under Bush, but then it was greatly increased under Obama. So we drop way more bombs from drones.
Under
Um,
Obama than any. His stuff was, it was ridiculous. I mean, the sorties that they ran were in the tens of thousands.
yeah. So yeah, there are less troops today, and that's in part because of funding, and it's in part because of you know, yeah, like choices in terms of like where they allocate funds. Sounds like we all agree about this. I thought this was going to be an interesting
Ha-
topic, but
I no, it's not very interesting because similarly, I believe in the military. I believe that our military needs to be the strongest in the world. The reduction that I saw is not only in spending, but it was also in the number of active military people, personnel. I think there should be a minimum limit. It shouldn't be what we had in the 80s, that's for sure. But we still should be a certain percentage higher than anyone else in the world. Now, we'll never match the sheer numbers of the Chinese Red Army, which is 1 million plus soldiers on the ground, and we should never even try. But technology wise, there should be X amount of dollars spent. It should be more than any other country, but it shouldn't be 3, 4, 5 times as much as our next leading rival. It shouldn't be that much. It doesn't have to be that much because, in explanation for that, they saved $700 million on these aircraft that Trump went after, and this company's still going to make a huge profit. And he cut the price tag by 700 million, and the company was happy for it. So the money involved. Oh, excuse me. That was pretty. Did that
He says
hurt?
allergic to your bullshit.
Allergic to my bullshit? No, they cut 700 million off the price tag on those aircraft, and they were still happy to have the contract. So
I was just trying to make a joke.
how much money are we getting raped for? You know what I mean? Like, seriously, it's ridiculous.
Okay, how much money we're getting taken for? That's an open question because anybody who's been in the military knows how wasteful the military is.
Not even
But
close. Not even close
but,
to an argument on that point. That is a
but
fact.
going back to what you said, the British used to have a policy with their Navy. You took the number 2 Navy in the world, you took the number 3 Navy in the world, you added them together, and that's what the British spent on their Navy. And that was a real simple way they figured out how much money they needed to spend every year on building new ships.
Wow.
And so, and I do think the United States, the way they run, is probably even doing more than that. The problem that you have with defense spending is it's spread out so much. And an easy way to get reelected is to lose your Air Force, Army, Navy, et cetera, base, or to lose your defense contract, because that is one borough way to get reelected.
Okay.
And that's part of the problem you've got. I was at Fort Polk whenever it was on the shopping list to get taken out. They were going to close Fort Polk, see you later, have a nice life. And the state of Louisiana, for one of the first times since I was here, got together and all agreed on something. We need to give money to Fort Polk to make sure it looks all pretty, so whenever the defense committee comes down, they don't close Fort Polk. First thing they did, built a golf course. I am dead serious. And when the Congress people came down, they spent 3 days at the golf course. They never went to North Fort Polk. They never went out on Peace Island Ridge. They never went anywhere. They went from the base to the golf course, back to their housing, to their plane, and left. That's what they did. As far as we know, they never even left the golf course. But Fort Polk's still there.
Well, here's
So
an
it was money well spent.
here's an interesting fact. Sean just found something that I pulled up at the same time about our country's defense spending combined to the next 8 nations of the world combined. If you take
No,
China,
it's the rest of the world. We spend 48% of the world's military spending.
understood,
Half of the world.
but list of the top 8 countries: China, Saudi Arabia, Russia, United Kingdom, India, France, and Japan. Those countries only total 567 billion. Our totals 596 billion. If we took, according to uh, your your term of doing what the UK did theirs back in the old days, if we took China and Saudi Arabia and we combined those two and put $1 more than the top two, $1 more, we'd still save $300 billion.
What's that number?
That
How much
number,
is China and Saudi Arabia paying?
Saudi Arabia is paying. Well, China and Saudi are paying together about 280 billion.
Okay, that would be bringing our military down to 1999 numbers. Because
Okay.
in 1999 we did 292 billion.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. Now we're at almost 600 billion. That was, I don't know what year this is. 2016. We're at 600 billion in 2016.
Yeah, well, I put the numbers up earlier. 2015 is the latest numbers I got. It's at 637.
Okay. Yeah.
The
well,
high was 2010 at 721.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. 2000. What'd you say? 700 something in 2010.
2010 721.
So 7 years later, that's $1 trillion.
Yeah. Now keep in mind whenever Bush 2007 his big warmonger himself, it was only 625.
Warmongering.
Yeah, because he's a big warmonger, so he's only paying 625. Obama's the only one. Obama cracked 700 billion twice.
Yeah, exactly. I saw that too. And people don't understand that he's such this great humanitarian. However, he had tens of thousands of drone strikes. He deported more people than any other president in history. And this guy, I mean, he funded a campaign to oust Benjamin Netanyahu and influence the Israeli election. He overthrew governments from the inside out with the Arab Spring,
Hey, we
and
can debate the
social
Nobel Peace Prize winner later.
and social media. It's ridiculous, man. But anyway, yeah, you're right. We can. That's a different topic for a different day. Anyway, so I guess we're all in conclusion that, or in agreement that the government spending is way too much. Spencer, you haven't said a damn thing.
I did. I spoke earlier at the very beginning of the segment.
Yeah, but you were only talking about my bullshit. So what do you have to say?
No, I
about that?
did not.
I think
was
you said
talking
hi.
Hey guys, how's it going? what is the what was last year's numbers again in military spending?
It was like 596 billion, 600
500.
billion. But that's a different chart that I saw. There's going to be
Okay.
different numbers, but let's just say $600 billion.
I mean, like I said in the beginning of the segment, I mean, I think this might be just an attempt to try to get it back to what it was before. Like you said, whenever Obama had touched in the 700 billions, twice you said, maybe it's trying to get it back up to how that was. But at the same time, because he's made these deals to decrease the price of equipment by increasing the spending, he's even adding more equipment. I guess is what I'm okay with. I'm okay with the increase, and I'm worried about how long is this increase going to last? Is it just a year? Is it for the rest of his term? What is it going to be? And what is the end goal for us having this? Is it just simply for defense purposes?
Yeah, simply for defense.
I don't know.
Simply for defense and homeland security, etc. That's not part of our defense budget, so that's another thing altogether.
I mean, I'm okay with it to an extent. I mean, but like I said, as long as it's short term and like you said, whenever we saved all that money on the aircrafts, I mean, by saving all that money, you increase the budget. So I mean, we're going to be one of the most loaded, if we aren't already, still the most loaded military in the world, and you want to maintain that and keep one step ahead of everybody else.
Let me tell you something. That $700 million they saved on those airplanes, they're going to find a place to put it tomorrow. It's already spent. So yeah, that's not even a concern. That money.
I'm not saying it's going to be stashed away and put into education or anything.
Yeah,
they're turning around and buying some more stuff on top of more.
There's no savings. The only thing that would impress me with this new administration is if our deficit goes down at any point in his administration, I will be happy. I don't care if it's a $1 reduction. If our deficit goes down at any point in this administration, I'll be happy.
Okay, so let's talk about that for just a second then. Because if you look at the image that I just sent you, the number one thing that we spend money on is Social Security, unemployment, and labor.
Yes.
Then Medicare and health, then the military. And Trump wants to take money from not Social Security, not Medicare. He might do some things with health. He might do some things with like benefits, but they're already very small. And so then this is what we're looking at: veterans benefits. We're looking at food and agriculture, looking at education and transportation. Like these are the next biggest things. They're all very small, and somehow we're supposed to take, $60 billion and pay for it from cuts from those things. And I mean, like transportation, for example, is just $85 billion by itself. So how in the hell is he expecting us to pay for a 10% increase in military by taking that money away from these other areas? It's just like it doesn't work out mathematically.
Well, no,
he's not taking. Hang on, let me answer that real quick. He's not taking anything from anything else of the pie. That's not a static pie. No, that's not a static pie. What he wants to do is grow the size of the pie. It's like if you have $100 and I want to take $10 something, the easy way to do that is to have $110. That's what he's looking to do. He's looking to gain more income.
That's what he's trying to not do.
The budget doesn't change.
He's saying that what he wants to do is, like, so if it's $600 billion to the military, then he wants to add $60 billion, 10%. But what he said he wants to do is he wants to take that $60 billion, from other parts of the government, not including Social Security, not including Medicare and Medicaid.
And he wants to do that while not increasing taxes.
Right. He wants to do that while decreasing taxes.
You don't have to
Yes, right.
increase taxes. But what
Yeah.
I'm saying is
Well, you're
that's
right.
not that may be what he said, but that's not what he's actually going to do.
No,
Right.
he can't. There's no way.
If he actually wants to increase the military budget, what he's going to have to do is collect more in taxes. You don't have to raise taxes. I mean, you're going to be in the same.
So
if you make more,
how are you gonna collect more without raising them?
okay. If I do such a great job as president, I do a great job, and I increase your income by 10 grand, you're going to pay X number of dollars in taxes to the IRS every April,
Oh
and
yeah,
that gives me more money.
but the sheer numbers of people that would have to get a $10,000 a year increase are staggering. That can't happen.
But you forget his confidence. That's what he's thinking he can do.
Well,
He's thinking he can increase it because we have had that much of an increase before, where you can add $30 billion to the deficit.
The
right.
thing is,
To the IRS.
this
That's
whole
how he
policy,
thinks he's going to do it.
this
It's not
whole
gonna happen,
policy,
but that's what he's thinking.
this whole policy is just, I mean, it's just dishonest. There's no way he's going to increase the military spending by 10% and take it from these other areas. Yeah. Let's go ahead and move on to the next thing because I think we're mostly just agreeing anyway.
Yeah, I don't think it's being dishonest. The guy just I don't think he's actually coming out and lying. I just think he thinks he can do it, but it just doesn't make sense. I think he's talking out of the back of his ass right now, which he does repeatedly. He says things before he does the total research and analysis of it, and he has this idea and he thinks he can just get it done. And sometimes I just don't know. I wish he would just think more. Have a meeting. Don't
Last week you said that Trump was real smart.
He is smart, but I'm also saying that he talks faster than the research or his research should dictate. So
He's got great ambitions, is what he's saying.
no, I believe he's a hard worker. I believe he's a very smart businessman. I think the numbers sometimes just don't add up to us, but I do believe he thinks that it will eventually. And he needs to do a little more research, have more facts behind him before he speaks. Okay, we'll agree with that 100%. I think he needs to have more fact behind him before he speaks. His mouth is his worst enemy.